What's up everyone, this is Placo, and in this video I'm going to show you how I use the NHL Daily Breakdown available on thefantasyfanatics.com to do my daily NHL research before I build any lineups on DraftKings. So the NHL Daily Breakdown is of course under the NHL menu, the Daily Breakdown link here. When you first view the page, you'll see an upcoming schedule just of games per day. I like to have an idea of how many games are coming up just to kind of plan out my DFS week. In the yellow section below that, you'll see 3 links for 3 different sites to view starting goalies. Obviously, it is extremely important that you have a goalie who is actually playing. You really need those win points. So I check all 3 of these sites every day, usually more than once, just to verify, make sure everything all the sites agree and I know who's starting. Below that you'll see a little key there. I will sometimes mark matchups either as green, yellow, or red. Green would be a heavy favorite for the day, maybe a cash game consideration. Yellow is a GPP option, and then red would be a fade. I don't use fade very often because really I think in a large field event in GPP, any team on an NHL schedule is really a GPP option. So I don't generally fade teams completely on most nights. So first what you're going to see here is the summary view of all the games for the day, the time that they play, the away team first, and then the home team with the money line odds to win the game, and then the game total over here on the right. And then you can click each column to break down or to open up the breakdown for that matchup. So there's a lot of information here. I know it can be a little overwhelming, so I'm going to do my best to explain everything that's here and kind of how I look through it to decide on where my targets are going to be for the night. So the top section is away team, and then on the left, and then the home team on the right. The first thing we have under the team name is 3 links to go out and view their line combinations for both even strength and power play. From Left Wing Lock and also Daily Faceoff, both are great game day resources so that you know who is skating together and where your potential stacks are for the day. Below that, we will show if teams are on a back-to-back. Always good to know what teams might be tired. Below that, we show the schedule in several different breakdowns. We have the overall, and then away versus home, and then last 5 and last 10 with their record in those games, and goals per game and goals allowed per game also all displayed. So I really like to look in this section. I really like looking at last 5 and then either the home or away stats for either team. To really see how the team's playing lately, how they're doing goal scoring wise and defensively. So this particular matchup here, we have Buffalo looking pretty good in their last 5, not scoring a lot, but good defensively. But compared to their last 10, obviously not quite as good, and then not quite as good as their season numbers either. And then if we look over at Boston, they also are looking pretty solid in their last 5. Scoring better than Buffalo is, also playing very good defensively. And those numbers are more in line with their last 10, so they've been a little more consistent. The next section below that is going to show the recent 5 games for each team. First the away team, then the home team. And the links you can click will take you out to a site called Fantasy Hockey 911, which displays time on ice breakdowns for each game. So you can look at line combinations and how much they were on the ice together. It can be really helpful too to find defensemen to play a ton of minutes. On DraftKings you get the points for shots on goal and blocked shots, so time on ice is a good place to look for some cheap defensemen maybe. And then on the section on the right, it's going to show head-to-head matchups. These 2 teams haven't played yet this year, but as the season wears on, and especially for division matchups, it's a nice feature here to show how the previous matchups have gone between the 2 teams. Moving on, the next section, this is where we get a lot of the data, import data from waronice.com, a great site that tracks basically everything you can imagine. in terms of advanced stats and possession stats. The first section is matchup-based stats, and then below that is team stats. Both have kind of 4 different views. I import stats for both last 30 days and full season, and I do home and away splits and also all games. So I like to display the numbers for all of them. They're all different sample sizes, and they can all kind of tell you a different story. So I think the more data you have, the better. So the stats to the right are then calculated. Anytime you see a small e here, that means expected, and it means it's a calculated value. So we have expected pace, which is total Corsi events, and then we have expected scoring chances and expected goals. This particular case, we're seeing pretty good numbers for pace. The number in parentheses is the rank for the day. So there are 9 matchups today, so having 3, 3, 2, and 3 for the 4 different stat breakdowns, that's pretty high matchups. So, but if we look at expected goals, we were seeing a 7 if we're using last 30-day home-away splits, and then 3, 3, 4, which is about in line with the pace, maybe a little lower. So this might actually be a matchup that edges towards the goalies, who they might see, a higher pace, higher event game, but maybe not as many goals. So moving on to the team stats, lots of stuff here. Again, we have the 4 different breakdowns. We have the away team on top, home team on bottom. The first several columns here up through PDO are straight stats from War on Ice. We have Corsi, Fenwick, goals for and goals against data, and then PDO. Color coding to show where the good numbers and bad numbers are, so we can get a quick idea. If we see a lot of red for a team, that's not good. If we see a lot of green, it is. And then those numbers are all used to calculate these 5 columns to the right with the E in front of them, which means expected or calculated number. And then the rank in parentheses here is also determined based on the matchups for the day. So since we have 9 matchups today, these ranks are out of 18. So we've got the Corsi events, we've got power play opportunities and goals, and then the key number really is expected goals for on the right. And you can see Buffalo has 17, 16, 8, and 15. That's really bad. Boston has 3, 2, 10, and 2. Really good. You can see we've got the red and green highlights to kind of point that out quickly. So clearly an edge to Boston in this one. And the last section of data here is the special team stats. We've got power play and penalty kill for each team, broken down by away, home, and overall. So you can look through that data to see who might have a special teams edge. So I generally try to add some notes down here if I have time each day, but really they're just my notes from looking through all the data above. So I encourage you to spend some time, dig deep into these numbers, and figure out which matchups may be producing the most goals on the night, and then use these links to go out and view who the lines are, so you can figure out which teams and stacks you may be targeting on the night. So that is how I go about my daily research. I look through every matchup like that one at a time, come up with my targets for the week, and then after all that is done, I log into DraftKings and start building lineups. So I hope the breakdown, I hope you can understand all the data in there and that it can be of value to you. Good luck, everyone.